So nobody actually tells moms what they need to hear on Mother's Day. So here are a couple things that I have learned over the years that I think are important and I want to share them. The first is your kids. We always, as a mom, and I'm a mom of two children, they're not children. One is 30 and one is 20. So they're adult children. So I've been through a lot of years, the toddler, the teens, the 20s, all of the stages. And one thing that I've learned is that as a mom, we have our priorities, and our kids always seem to rise to the top. It doesn't matter what it is that we need to do, what we have on our agenda. If our kids call us, if there's something that they need, we are dropping everything and we are attending to them first. And it's a natural instinct, I think. So it's nothing to be kind of ashamed of or feel bad about, because they're our number one priority. And when they hurt, we hurt. So I think that's where I'm going to start, is just with our children. And one thing I wanted to kind of like, I don't know, share or give you my experience is that we don't talk enough with our kids about money. you know, as providers, we want to provide for our children. We want to make sure that they have a better life. I think in my parents' generation, they kind of just dropped us, like, they provided, what they could. And then they dropped us, like, on our own to kind of fend for ourselves and figure it out. Now, I think, I don't know if we were traumatized by that or what the story was, but now as parents, we are doing the opposite. We compensate, we try and step in, we try and help. They have the terms helicopter parent and all those things. Again, it's not a bad thing. Either way of parenting has its pros and cons. But I think with that, we forget to teach them the things that they need to know when it comes to money. So, first of all, the value of it, right? What is the value of money? Things are expensive now, and kids don't seem to realize that when you're out and about with them. Oh, can I have the latte? Can I have the this, that, the other? And they don't really understand the cost that's involved and the burden that it bears on us as parents. So I think teaching them the value of money is really important. And I remember when my son was in competitive soccer. And at the time, we only had one income coming in. So our things were like very, very tight. And we went to the tryout. He really wanted to try out for this team. We went to the tryout, and they said that he needed these particular cleats for soccer. Well, I knew that he needed them before the actual tryout. So to be honest, we went to the store and we bought these cleats. They're very expensive. And he hadn't even gotten on the team at this point. And as I was paying for them, I'm like, this is hurting. And I don't even know, there's no guarantee that he's actually going to make it on the team. And he had to wear them, right? So it's not like I could have gone and returned them afterwards. And I watched him walk onto the field. And I felt this, like, pit in the bottom of my stomach, because I knew the cost that was going to have, or the effect that was going to have on our finances. And, but the joy, right? The joy that I saw him playing, and it really made up for that. But he has no clue. He has no clue as to the impact that decision made, had. And so, even going into competitive sport, if any of you have your children in competitive sport, it's very expensive and it's time consuming. And it's a sacrifice that we bear as parents. We have fun too, right? You meet friends and stuff like that. But it does have a cost. There's a cost associated with that. So just kind of sharing some of these things with your children. And again, it's not about putting the burden on them, but it's just making them aware of the impact that money has on your life. And then if we go down the pecking order of our priorities, um, our spouse or our partner, it comes up to the top. But sometimes, they can get kind of pushed aside when it comes to our kids, and we always kind of like want to like attend to them. So, why not just spend some time with your spouse or your partner. Alone time away from the children. Um, you know, when my kids were, going through competitive sports, we'd spend a lot of time like in the car, in practices, different things with the children. So our time was spent all together, which is great for family time. But then you forget about, the relationship that you have with your spouse. And it's important to make set aside that time for them because as the years go by, your children are going to get older and they're going to leave and they're going to have their own lives, and it's just going to be the two of you left. And if you haven't built and developed and kept that relationship all along, it's going to be difficult to rekindle that and make it something that will flourish, continue to flourish. So, just making small moments, going to a coffee shop, having a chat, or taking a drive, or doing something that you both loved, like when you were dating, just kind of make it fun and kind of bring back some of that joy that you had when you were, young in your younger years. And then, okay, again, I'm going down to down in the pecking order. I would say, we kind of put ourselves last. And this is where I kind of really want to stress that it is so important to take care of yourself. And spa days are great. Don't get me wrong. I love a spa day, but I'm not really talking about that so much. I'm really talking about your personal health. As you get older and time, puts on stress, it puts on worry and all these things, we really need to think about our own personal health. So I'm encouraging you in the month of May to go get a checkup. Go get a checkup, see what your numbers are, what you need to work on. You may already know, but it's really important to, keep up your personal health and not let yourself kind of fall to the wayside. So exercise, eating well, taking walks, all these things are really important to keep our own personal self healthy so we can be, give the love that we want to the others, to our family, to our friends. So, month of May, make sure you check that off. I did my physical. Oh, yes. And then again, I'm going down in the pecking order. This is about our friendships. Now, as adults and we become moms, we tend to get caught up in our own lives. If we look at our path through life, we spend so much time in the early years with our friends. Our friends are so important to us. And we get married, you have kids, and you can become friends with others that are in your circle. Like I said, competitive sport, you become friends with the people around you. But there are the core people that you kind of grew up with, the people that really get you. These are the people that you kind of want to reach out to and plan a date with them. What you need is that, the belly laugh, the one that you're just so like you could just see something and the two of you understand it and you just burst out laughing. That is so beneficial to you in your life. That those friendships are really important, and it doesn't mean you have to spend every weekend with them, but just pick a day and do something that you guys used to do in the past, and just share that time together because life is about relationships, not only with our children, not only with our spouse, but our friends play a big part in that too. So, set a date. And then as we kind of get going into our personal self, our finances pay a big toll on who we are as a person. So it's important to do a little bit of a check. How are you doing with your finances? And as moms, every partnership is different. If you're in a partnership, whether the spouse kind of handles the money or whether you do, as misorganized. But it's important to kind of really think about your finances and how you are setting yourself up for the future. And sometimes retirement seems like, really a long way away, but there are things that you can kind of set in motion that are going to help you have, an easier life as you get older. So just kind of doing a little check to see, how things are going, weighing your income versus your debt, thinking about what your expenses are like. Yeah, these are really important to focus on. I remember when, we started to make a little bit more money. My husband was working, I was working, and the income side started to go up. And sometimes what happens is you're you're making more, but you're also spending more. So it's like this lifestyle inflation happens, and it's just you got to be really be careful of that because you're not really bettering yourself. You're working harder, right? You're working harder. You're doing more complex jobs or whatever it is, but you're not really benefiting in the sense that you're not planning for the future. You're just kind of, gaining, buying maybe a more expensive car, maybe buying a bigger house, and all these things, and you're not thinking about what's going to happen down the road. So, yeah, just take some time to really do a little financial checkup. Okay, and for the last one, pick something that is your most favorite thing to do and make it personal and do that for yourself. So if you're, an avid love sports and you love to run or do your favorite exercise class or, whatever it is, if you're on the creative side and you want to dance or listen to music or, draw or, coloring, like whatever it is, pick your favorite thing to do and take some time for yourself. The joy that you're going to feel from just giving yourself that moment is going to be probably worth more than anything you get from others.